Oh, we've got the work cut out for us and laid right to hand. If we don't do our little share toward solving some problems, it will be strange. Curse how things turns out in this world, the old man ruminated. Ever since I was a little chap settin' on my granddaddy's knees by the hearth, big hickory fire a roarin' up the chimbley, wind a going woohoo overhead, and me with my eyes like saucers a listening to his tales of the silver mine that the Injuns had. Ever since that time I've hunted that dar mine. He laughed chucklingly, deep in his throat. Dar wasn't a wildcatter that could have a hideout safe from me. They just had to trust me. I crawled into every hole. I came mighty near seeing the end of every cave but one. And that cave was the one where my mammy kept her milk and butter, the spring house where they put you in prison. Somehow, I never did think about going to the end of that. Looked like it was too near home to have a silver mine in it, and there the stuff lay and waited for the day when I should take a notion to find a pretty rock for Deanie, and crawl back in there and keep a crawlin', till I just fell over it, all croppin' out in the biggest kind of vein. Gray had heard Uncle Prose tell the story many times, but it had a perennial charm. Then I lost 6 months plumb lost you know. And time I come to myself, Johnny and me was a huntin' for you. And there we found you shut in that dar same cave, and I was so tuck up with that matter that I never once thought, till I got you home, to wonder did Buck Heath and the rest of 'em know that they'd penned you in the silver mine. I ain't never asked you, but you'd have knowed if they had. I should have known anything that Rudd Dawson or Groner or Venters knew, Gray said, but I'm not sure about Buck Heath or Hims. However, Hims is dead, and Buck Heath I don't suppose anybody in Cottonville will ever see him again. Prose's face changed instantly. He leaned abruptly forward and laid a hand on the other's knee. That's exactly what I came down here to speak with you about, Gray, he said. They've fetched Shade Buck Heath in now, what do you make out of that? Stoddard shoved the letter from the Eastern mining man back in its pigeonhole. Well, he said slowly, I didn't expect that. I thought of course Shade was safely out of the country. I pass more, I'm sorry they've got him. After a little silence he spoke again. What do I make of it? Why, that there are some folks up on Big Unacre who need pretty badly to appear as very law-abiding citizens. I'll wager anything that Groner and Rudd Dawson brought Shade in. Uncle Prose nodded seriously. Them's the very fellas, he said. Reckon they've talked pretty free to you. I never axed ye, Gray, how did they treat ye? Dawson was the best friend I had, Stoddard returned promptly. When I got to the big turn on Sultan coming home that Friday morning, Buck Heath met me, and asked me to go down to Burnt Cabin and help him with a man that had fallen and hurt himself on the rocks. Dawson told me afterward that he and Jesse Groner were posted at the roadside to stop me and hem me in before I got to the bluff. I've described to you how Buck Heath tried to back Sultan over the edge, and I got off on the side where the two were, not noticing them till they tied me hand and foot. They almost came to a clinch with Buck Heath then and there. You ought to have heard Groner swear. It was like praying gone wrong. Aha, agreed Prose. Jess is a terrible wicked man in speech that a way, but he's good-hearted. That first scrimmage showed me just what the men were after, Stoddard said. Buck Heath plainly wanted me put out of the way, but the others had some vague idea of holding me for a ransom and getting money out of the Hardwicks. Dawson complained always that he thought the Mills owed him money. He said they must have sold his girl's body for as much as $100, and he felt that he'd been cheated. Oh, it was all crazy stuff. But he and the others had justified themselves, and they had no notion of standing for what Buck Heath was after. I was one of the cotton mill men to them. They had no personal malice. Through the long evenings when Groner or Dawson or Will Venters was guarding me, or maybe all three of them, we used to talk, and it surprised me to find how simple and childish those fellows were. They were as kind to me as though I had been a brother, and treated me courteously always. Little by little, I got at the whole thing from them. It seems that Buck Heath took advantage of the feeling there was in the mountains against the mill men on account of the hospital and some other matters. He went up there and interviewed anybody that he thought might join him in a vendetta. I imagine he found plenty of them that were ready to talk and some that were willing to do. But it chanced that Dawson and Jesse Groner were coming down to Cottonville that morning. I passed Buck Heath at the Hardwick gate, and he must have cut across the turn and followed me, intending to pick a quarrel. Then he met Dawson and Groner and framed up this other plan with their assistance. Uncle Prose, I want you to help me out. If Buck Heath has to stand trial, how are we any of us going to testify without making it hard on the Dawson crowd? I expect to live here the rest of my days. Here's this mine of ours. And right here I mean to build a big mill and work out my plans. I think you know that I hope to marry a mountain wife, and I can't afford to quarrel with those folks. Uncle Prose's chin dropped to his breast, his eyes half closed as he sat thinking intently. Well, he said finally, they won't have nothing worse than manslaughter against Shade. It can't be proved that he intended to shoot Pap, 'cause he didn't. If he was shootin' after us, there's the thing we don't want to bring up. You was down in the bottom of the Sire, and I had my back to him, and so did Johnny, and we don't know anything about what was done, ain't that so? As for you, you've already told Mr. Hardwick and the others that you was taken prisoner and detained by parties unknown. Johnny and me was gettin' you out of the spring house and away in the machine. Then Gid and Shade comes up, and thinking we're the other crowd stealing the machine, they try to catch us and turn loose at us. That makes a pretty good story, don't it? It does if Dawson and Groner and Venters agree to it, Stoddard laughed. But somebody will have to communicate with them before they tell another one or several others. I'll see to that, Grey Prose said, rising and preparing to go. Boy, he looked down fondly at the younger man, and set a brown right hand on his shoulder. You never done a wiser thing nor a kinder in your life, than when you forgave your enemies that time, I'll bet you could ride the unacres from end to end, the balance o' your days, the safest man that ever traveled their trails. Talking silver mine? Inquired Macpherson, putting his quizzical face in at the door. No, returned Stoddard. We were just mentioning my pestilent cotton mill projects. By this time next year, you and Hardwick will be wanting to have me abated as a nuisance. No, no, remonstrated Macpherson, coming in and leaning with affectionate familiarity on the younger man's chair. There's no pestilence in you, Gray. You couldn't be a nuisance if you tried. People who will work out their theories stand to do good in the world. It's only the fellows who are content with bellowing them out that I object to. Better be careful, laughed Stoddard. We'll make you vice president of the company. Is that an offer? Countered Macpherson swiftly. I've got a bit of money to invest in this county, and Hardwick has ever a new brother-in-law or such that looks longingly at my shoes. You'd furnish the conservative element, surely, debated Stoddard. I'd keep you from bankruptcy, grunted the Scotchman, as he laid a small book on Gray's desk. I doubt not Providence demands it of me. Evening was closing in with a greenish-yellow sunset, and a big full moon pushing up to whiten the sky above it. It was late March now, and the air was full of vernal promise. Johnny stepped out on the porch and glanced toward the west. She was expecting Gray that evening. Would there be time before he came, she wondered, for a little errand she wanted to do? Turning back into the hall, she caught a jacket from the hook where it hung and hurried down to the gate, settling her arms in the sleeves as she ran. There would be time if she went fast. She wished to get the little packet into which she had made Gray's letters months ago, dreading to look even at the folded outsides of them, tucking them away on the high shelf of her dress closet at the Paphims boarding house, and trying to forget them. Nobody would know where to look but herself. She got permission from Mavety to go upstairs. Once there, the letters made their own plea, and alone in the little room that was lately her own, she opened the packet, carrying the contents to the fading light and glancing over sheet after sheet. She knew them all by heart. How often she had stood at that very window devouring these same words, not realizing then, as she did now, what deep meaning was in each phrase, how the feeling expressed increased from the first to the last. Across the ravine, one of the loom fixers found the evening warm enough to sit on the porch playing his guitar. The sound of the twanging strings, and the appealing vibration of his young voice in a plaintive minor air, came over to her. She gathered the sheets together and pressed them to her face as though they were flowers, or the hands of little children. I've got to tell him tonight, she whispered to herself, in the dusky, small, dismantled room. I've got to get him to see it as I do. I must make myself worthy of him before I let him take me for his own. She thrust the letters into the breast pocket of her coat and ran downstairs. Mavety Bent stood in the hall, plainly awaiting her. Honey, she began fondly, I've been putting away Pap's things today just like you once it found me putting away Lou's. I came on this here. and then Johnny noticed a folded bandana in her hands. "You all asked me to let ye go through and find that nickel ore, and ye brung it out in a pasteboard box, but this here is what it was in on the day your Uncle Pros fetched it here, and I thought maybe you'd take a interest in having the handkercher that your fortune come down the mountains in." "Yes, indeed, Aunt Mavety," said Johnny, taking the bandana into her own hands. "Pap, he's gone," the poor woman went on tremulously, "and the evil what he done or wanted to do is a thing that I reckon you can afford to forget. You're a mighty happy woman, Johnny Consadin, the Lord knows you deserve to be." She stood looking after the girl as she went out into the twilit street. Johnny was dressed as she chose now, not as she must, and her clothing showed itself to be of the best. Anything that might be had in Wautuga was within her means, and the tall, graceful figure passing so quietly down the street would never have been taken for other than a member of what we are learning to call the leisure class. When the shadows at the end of the block swallowed her up, Mavety turned, wiping her eyes, and addressed herself to her tasks. "I reckon Lou would a been just like that if she'd a lived," she said to Mandy Meacham, with the tender fatuity of mothers. "Johnny seems like a daughter to me, and I know in my soul no daughter could be kinder. Look at her markin' me keep every cent Pap had in the bank, when Laurel could have claimed it all and kep' it." "Yes, and addin' something to it," put in Mandy. "I do love 'em both, Johnny and Deanie. If I ever was so fortunate as to get a man and be wedded and have chaps o' my own, I know mighty well and good I couldn't love any one of 'em any better than I do Deanie. And yet Johnny's queer. I always will say that Johnny Consadin is queer. What in the nation does she want to go chasin' off to Europe for, when she's got everything that heart could desire or mind think of right here in Cottonville?" That same question was being put even more searchingly to Johnny by somebody else at the instant when Mandy enunciated it. She had found Gray waiting for her at the gate of her home. "Let's walk here a little while before we go in," he suggested. "I went up to the house and found you were out. The air is delightful, and I've got something I want to say to you." He had put his arm under hers, and they strolled together down the long walk that led to the front of the lawn. The evening air was pure and keen, tingling with the breath of the wakening season. "Sweetheart," Gray broke out suddenly, "I've been thinking day and night since we last talked together about this year abroad that you're planning. I certainly don't want to put my preferences before yours. I only want to be very sure that I know what your real preferences are." And he turned and searched her face with a pair of ardent eyes. "I think I ought to go," the girl said in a very low voice. Her head drooped, her own eyes bent toward the path at her feet. "Why?" whispered her lover. "Oh, Gray, you know. If we should ever be married, well, then," in answer to a swift, impatient exclamation, "when we are married, if you should show that you were ashamed of me, I think it would kill me." "No, don't say there's not any danger. You might have plenty of reason. And I want to be safe, Gray, safe, if I can." Gray regarded the beautiful, anxious face long and thoughtfully. "Yes, Of course it was possible for her to feel that way. Assurance was so deep and perfect in his own heart, that he had not reflected what it might lack in hers. "Dear girl," he said, pausing and making her look at him, "how little you do know of me, after all. Do I care so much for what people say? Aren't you always having to reprove me because I so persistently like what I like, without reference to the opinions of the world? Besides, you're a beauty with tender brusqueness, and a charmer that steals the hearts of men. If you don't know all this, it isn't from lack of telling. Moreover, I can keep on informing you. A year of European travel could not make you any more beautiful, Johnny, or sweeter. You may not believe me, but there's little the European capitals could add to your native bearing. You must have learned that simple dignity from these mountains of yours. Of course, if you wanted to go for pleasure," his head a little on one side, he regarded her with a tender, half-quizzical smile, hoping he had sounded the note that would bring him swift surrender. "It isn't altogether for myself, there are the others," Johnny told him, lifting honest eyes to his in the dim moonlight. "They are all I had in the world, Gray, till you came into my life, and I must keep my own. I belong to a people who never give up anything they love." Stoddard dropped an arm about his beloved, and turned her that she might face the windows of the house behind them, bending to set his cheek against hers and direct her gaze. "Look there," he whispered, laughingly. She looked and saw her mother, clad in such wear as Lorella's taste could select and Lorella's beauty make effective. The slight, dark little woman was coming in from the dining room with her children all about her, a noble group. "Your mother is much more the fine lady than you'll ever be," Johnny Stoddard Gray said, giving her the name that always brought the blood to the girl's cheek and made her dumb before him. "You know your Uncle Prose and I are warmly attached to each other. What is it you'd be waiting for, girl?" "Why, Johnny, a man has just so long to live on this earth, and the years in which he has loved are the only years that count. Would you be throwing one of these away? A year, 12 months, 365 days cast to the void. You reckless creature." He cupped his hands about her beautiful, fair face and lifted it, studying it. Johnny Stoddard, the one woman out of all the world for me," he murmured, his deep voice dropping to a wooing cadence. "I couldn't love you better, I shall never love you less. Don't let us foolishly throw away a year out of the days which will be vouchsafed us together. Don't do it, darling, it's folly." Hard pressed, Johnny made only a sort of inarticulate response. "Come, love, sit a moment with me," here pleaded Gray, indicating a small bench hidden among the evergreens and shrubs at the end of the path. "Sit down, and let's reason this thing out." "Reasoning with you," began Johnny, helplessly, "isn't he? It isn't reasonable." "It is," he told her, in that deep, masterful tone which, like a true woman, she both loved and dreaded. "It's the height of reasonableness. Why, dear, the great primal reason of all things speaks through me. And I won't let you throw away a year of our love. Johnny, it isn't as though we'd been neighbors, and grown up side by side. I came from the ends of the earth to find you, darling, and I knew my own as soon as I saw you. He put out his arms and gathered her into a close embrace. For a space they rested so, murmuring question and reply, checked or answered by swift, sweet kisses. The first time I ever saw you, love. Oh, in those dusty old shoes and a sunbonnet. Could you love me then, Grey? The same as at this moment, sweetheart. Shoes and sunbonnets, I am ashamed of you now, Johnny, in earnest. What do such things matter? And that morning on the mountain, when we got the moccasin flowers, the girl's voice took up the theme. It was sweet to be with you and bitter, too. I could not dream then that you were for me. And afterward the long, black, dreadful time when you seemed so utterly lost to me at the mention of those months. Grey stopped her words with a kiss. Mine, he whispered with his lips against hers, out of all the world mine. The end. Asterisk 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 end of the Project Gutenberg ebook The Power and the Glory asterisk 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 updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works. So the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works. By using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg, you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark / copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed, This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2 If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3 If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4 Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5 Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6 You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7 Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2. Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116, 801, 596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol Electronic Works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks. Back. The Power and the Glory Contents Illustrations Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Chapter XIV Chapter XXV The End. The full Project Gutenberg license.